I want to talk to you about something that honestly should concern every dealer right now. There's a ton of AI companies coming into automotive, from texting to voice to follow up, all of it. And a lot of those vendors don't understand the legal side of what they're doing. And the reality is, the dealers are taking on the risk, not the vendor, you, the dealer. And the reason is those companies aren't sending text and saying, hey, this is ABC vendor. They're saying, hey, this is Jason Jewert Chevrolet. I'd like to do this for you. The dealer is the one at risk. And I'd like to talk to you about the challenges, the questions you can ask, give you some information, and let you be more informed about your decisions. So what we're seeing out there right now is dealers are being told things like, hey, we can text your whole database. Hey, with a voice AI, I can make 2,700 calls in a second. Why don't we reactivate your entire service and sales pipeline for you? This all sounds great, but here's the issue. Just because you have a customer's phone number does not mean you can legally market to them however you want. And that's where dealers are getting exposed, already generating lawsuits, already costing dealers money. And it's important for you to be informed about what's happening. So one of the key things is there's two completely different categories of communication. There's transactional and there's marketing. Transactional communication is pretty easy. You're responding to a lead, you're answering a question, you're confirming an appointment, you're providing service updates of a car that's already in your service drive. This is generally okay as long as you're doing it right, until you add a marketing message in. Like, hey, your vehicle's almost done. Don't forget we have a huge tent event this weekend. You've now transitioned that transactional communication into a marketing communication. Marketing is anything that's a sales event, like, hey, a tent event, or we've got this going on, or we're paying $500 extra for trades. We want to buy your car, lease pull-aheads, service blasts to old customer. This requires a completely different level of consent. And most dealers don't have that consent documented. So in those transactional communications, consent is implied. It doesn't actually require written consent as it does when you're doing marketing transactions or marketing communications, whether that's text or voice. So to give you a practical guideline, if the message promotes something rather than responding to a specific request, it's likely to be treated as marketing during a litigation process. This distinction becomes especially important when AI is used to scale your outreach. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you legal advice. You should check in with your lawyer before doing anything, but exact requirements vary. I can give you an interpretation because they do vary by jurisdiction, sometimes by state. But what does an actual legitimate opt-in look like that will prevent you from being scrutinized in this process? Clear authorization to receive the marketing communication. You have to have a disclosure that automated technology or an artificial voice may be used if you're going to use either of those things. You have to identify your name, who's going to initiate it. You have to have the consumer's phone number in there, and you have to have a statement that consent is not required as a condition of the purchase. This also cannot be part of your general disclosures. This can't be part of that piece of content you put at the bottom of the website and buried in a general disclosure. I can give you a simplified example. You should also check out the blog. This is all typed there. Here's a great example. By providing my phone number, I agree to receive marketing text messages and/or calls, including those sent using automated technology or artificial voice from dealership name, Jason Jewert Chevrolet. And the consent of this is not required for the purchase of the vehicle. Message and data rates may apply. If you have that, it's signed, you've got it documented for your customers. Now you can send that customer transactional and marketing messages. Another big thing is AI voice. Some people don't realize the changes that happen in 2024. So let's talk about AI voice because it's starting to get even more serious than texting. Texting applies even when your salesperson is texting from their cell phone. Doesn't matter if you're using AI. All those things I just covered about transactional and marketing absolutely apply if a person is sending those text messages. Now, what gets interesting in voice is there was a ruling in 2024 and an update the FCC made that made it very clear. Any AI generated voice, no matter how real it sounds, is considered a robocall. So if you're using AI to call customers, you're not just trying something new, you are officially running robocall campaigns, and those typically require written consent that also in writing says they are okay receiving that call from an artificial voice or robocaller. Huge impact here, because this can scale when you might only be able to make 100 calls a day and something else can make hundreds of thousands of calls a second. It exposes you to heavy fines. So what's the real world impact of this? This isn't theoretical, right? There are already dealers settling lawsuits over text campaigns, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And just that's not just the ones that are public, right? This is people taking on a risk and finding the penalty. There was a Toyota dealer in the Florida area that settled for almost $900,000. And some of that wasn't even text being sent from an AI. It was being generated by their salespeople because it wasn't authorized to have those things happen or sent out of the CRM. So at scale, AI is sending thousands of messages of calls. This is where it's going to get dangerous. Some people want to say that there was a new law early this year, 2026. The law changed. We're good. That's not exactly accurate. There was a court ruling. It only applies to 3 states. It's not nationwide. It does not eliminate the risk of violating TCPA. It does not override any state laws. And it definitely does not change that AI voice is being treated as a robocall. So if someone's telling you you're fine now, that is not accurate. And you should do more research on your ability to contact these customers, because auto dealers are not falling into what the changes were made. This is a huge red flag. If somebody says you're fine now, don't worry about it. Look, I'm not saying don't use AI. AI is incredibly powerful when it's used the right way. But the smart approach is to focus on customer initiated conversations. Use AI for those transactional communications. Be very careful with any kind of mass outbound campaign. If you have the proper consent, you're covered. Be even more cautious with AI voice, because I haven't seen a disclosure yet that calls out the fact the customer will accept a voice call from an auto-generated or AI voice. And that is specifically required in the documentation from the FCC to be legal to make robocalls. Because at the end of the day, this isn't going to be just about getting more appointments. It's about protecting your dealership. Thank you and have a wonderful day.